In 1848, a secret buried deep in the Sierra Nevada mountains would change America forever. One man found it by accident. What happened next sparked the largest migration in human history. Hundreds of thousands of ordinary people abandoned their families. They sold their homes. They risked their lives, all chasing one impossible dream. But here's what they didn't know. Not everyone would survive. And the one man who started it all? He died completely broke. This is his story, and it's about to change everything you thought you knew about America. I'm your host, Mr. Stark, and for the next several episodes, we're diving deep into one of the most fascinating, brutal, and transformative moments in American history. What you're about to hear is the real story of the California Gold Rush, not the Hollywood version, not the sanitized textbook version, the actual, documented, verified history of how one discovery turned a quiet backwater territory into the center of American ambition. So let's go back to 1848, back to California when it wasn't even a state yet, back to a time when most Americans had never even heard of the place. In the 1840s, California was Mexican territory. It had been for centuries. The United States wanted it badly, but Mexico wouldn't sell. So America did what America does. In 1846, we went to war. The Mexican-American War lasted just 2 years. By 1848, America won. And as the spoils of victory, we got California. The Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo was signed on February 2, 1848. It was official. California belonged to the United States now. But here's the thing nobody realized at that exact moment. Nobody. Not the politicians in Washington, not the generals who just won the war, not even the Mexican diplomats signing the treaty. Something extraordinary was about to change the entire course of human events, and it was already buried just a few hundred miles away. California in early 1848 was sparsely populated. Maybe 14,000 non-Native Americans lived there. Most were in small towns. Some were on massive ranches, and a few were scattered throughout the interior valleys and foothills. It was quiet. It was remote. It was exactly the kind of place where extraordinary things could happen unnoticed.
Now, let me introduce you to a man named James Wilson Marshall. He was born in 1810 in New Jersey. He was a carpenter, just a carpenter. Nothing special, nothing that would suggest he was about to accidentally trigger the largest mass migration in American history. By 1847, Marshall had moved to California. He was working for a man named John Sutter, a Swiss immigrant who had massive landholdings in the Sacramento Valley. Sutter was ambitious, brilliant. He had built an empire in California. He had cattle, horses, vast agricultural land, and he had big plans. He wanted to build a sawmill on the South Fork of the American River. He needed lumber, lots of it. He hired James Marshall to oversee the construction. In the fall of 1847, Marshall and a crew of workers, including Native Americans, began building the mill. They dammed the river. They created a tail race, an artificial channel to direct water to power the mill. By January 1848, the mill was almost complete. It was working. It was cutting lumber. Everything was going exactly as planned. But on the morning of January 24th, 1848, something changed everything.
James Marshall was checking the tail race. It was his job to inspect the area where the water flowed out of the mill. He was looking for problems, damage, anything that needed fixing. The water level had dropped overnight. This gave him a chance to inspect the bottom of the channel more carefully. He was walking through the tail race, probably thinking about his breakfast, when he noticed something. Something glimmering, something unusual, something shiny catching the California sunlight. Marshall bent down. He picked it up. It was roughly the size of a pea. It was heavy, surprisingly heavy for its size, and it was yellow, bright yellow, unmistakably yellow. He had found gold, but he didn't know for certain. Not yet. He wasn't a mineralogist. He was a carpenter. So he did what any prudent man would do. He tested it. Gold is soft. If you hammer it, it dents instead of shattering. If you bite it, it leaves teeth marks. Every test confirmed it. This was genuine, authentic, natural gold. According to historical records, Marshall reportedly said,
"Boys, I believe I have found a gold mine." And he was right, but he had no idea what those words were about to unleash on the world.
Marshall immediately took his findings to John Sutter. He wanted to keep it quiet, secret. Sutter agreed. If the world found out about the gold, everything would change. Their operation would be overrun. The land would be invaded. They had to keep it contained. But secrets are almost impossible to keep, especially valuable ones. Workers talked. Other employees at Sutter's fort heard rumors. Neighbors heard whispers. Within weeks, the story had spread across California. By March 1848, just 2 months after Marshall's discovery, news reached San Francisco, and San Francisco was the gateway to the world. The California newspaper, The Californian, published the news in May 1848, and then something fascinating happened. Nobody cared. Seriously, nobody cared. The article barely made a ripple. Most people read it and forgot it instantly. Why? Because California was remote, because gold discoveries happened in various places, because nobody realized this was different. But in the East Coast of America, in Washington, D.C., in every major city across the United States, people were preparing to move. They just didn't know it yet. The official news wouldn't reach the eastern United States until September 1848. And when it did, everything changed. On August 19, 1848, Colonel Richard Mason, a U.S. military officer, submitted an official report to President James K. Polk. The report contained samples of gold collected from the American River. It was verified. It was authenticated. It was official. Mason wrote words that would echo across the nation. The gold is in small particles mixed with coarse sand, but the quantity appears to be so great that the most moderate calculation would see in a few years be equal to many millions of dollars. President Polk announced the discovery in his annual message to Congress in December 1848. The nation exploded with excitement. From January 1849 onwards, it was absolute chaos. Beautiful, ambitious, desperate chaos. People sold their homes, they left their jobs, some abandoned their families. They packed whatever they could carry and headed west. The gold fever consumed them. It was all-consuming. It was irrational, and it was absolutely unstoppable. We call them the 49ers, the hundreds of thousands of fortune seekers who came to California during the gold rush years. Some came by ship around Cape Horn, a journey of 5 months. Some came overland across deserts and mountains, a journey of 6 months or more. By 1849, California went from having approximately 14,000 non-Native Americans to nearly 100,000 in a single year. By 1850, the population had swelled to nearly 300,000. It was the fastest population boom in American history. But this is where the story gets complicated. This is where the gold rush goes from exciting adventure to something darker. You see, California wasn't empty land. It had inhabitants. Thousands of Native American tribes had lived there for centuries, long before Columbus, long before America existed, long before James Marshall ever found that first nugget of gold. And what happened when the gold rush arrived? What happened when 300,000 desperate, ambitious, armed people flooded into native lands with no regard for who had lived there first? That story, the real story, the tragic story, the story nobody wants to tell, is what's coming in part 2. There's also the question of what happened to the men who found the gold. James Marshall, John Sutter. Did they become rich beyond imagination? Did they live happy, comfortable lives? I'll give you a hint. By the end of their lives, both men died nearly penniless, completely broke, ironically, poor. And then there are the stories of the 49ers themselves, the ordinary people who risked everything. Some found fortunes, most found heartbreak, many found death. In part 2, we're going to explore all of this. We're going to meet the people, we're going to hear the untold stories, and we're going to discover why the California Gold Rush is so much more complicated than the fairy tale you've been told. So here's what I need from you right now. If this story has grabbed you, if you're curious about what really happened during the gold rush, if you want to understand the truth, the complicated, messy truth, then subscribe to this channel right now. Hit that bell icon so you don't miss part 2, because trust me, part 2 is where things get really intense. While this series is built strictly on verified historical facts, some minor creative elements and dialogues have been dramatized to bring the flavor of the Wild West back to life. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I genuinely read them and respond to them. What aspect of the gold rush fascinates you most? What do you think happened to the Native Americans? Do you think the 49ers made the right choice leaving everything behind? And I will see you in part 2. This is Mr. Stark, signing off.